Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ravenstar's Witching Hour. I'm your host and head witch, Miss Solaris BlueRaven, at the helm this evening. I want to give a shout out to everybody at Revolution Radio, staff, producers, listeners, chat room, and thank everyone for tuning in tonight. We are 100% listener supported, so if you like what you're hearing, please click on the donate button. We appreciate your support and thank you for any contribution you can make to this excellent station. And there is a beautiful full moon this early morning. And, of course, the Wiccan and Pagan holiday Ostara is on the 21st of March, right around the corner, celebrating the spring or vernal equinox. So new energies, new beginnings on the horizon. So set the intent to manifest at the highest level. And also some sad news. Dr. Roger Lear died yesterday of an apparent heart attack. He was an investigator into the alien abduction phenomenon. He verified the abductees were being implanted with objects and devices, and with the help of other professionals, removed and scientifically evaluated these implants and published his results. Steve Colburn, a colleague of Dr. Lear, has been on my show numerous times and will continue to do his analysis of alien implants. And with that being said, rest in peace, Dr. Lear. Fly home to the stars to a better world. And he will be missed, without a doubt. And you are listening to Studio A. And my special guest this evening is Dean Henderson. And Dean Henderson was raised on a cattle ranch near Faulkton, South Dakota. He earned a BLS from the University of South Dakota and an MS in Environmental Studies from the University of Montana. He founded, published, edited one of America's first political zines, the Missoula Paper, in 1990 in Missoula, Montana, where he was also a regular columnist for the Montana Kaimin. His left hook columns have appeared on Infowars, globalresearch.ca, David Icke, and many other websites. His print articles have appeared in Multinational Monitor, In These Times, Paranoia, and several other journals. He is a featured columnist for Veterans Today and Rents.com and appears regularly on Press TV, RT, and other international stations. A self-described revolutionary and traveler to 50 countries, Dean co-founded the University of Montana Green Party and Ozark Heritage Region Peace and Justice Network. He was vice president of the Central Ozarks Farmers Union and former president of the Howell County Democrats. In 2004, he won the Democratic nomination for Congress in Missouri's 8th District. He has authored 5 books. His first book, Big Oil and Their Bankers in the Persian Gulf, 4 Horsemen, 8 Families, and Their Global Intelligence, Narcotics, and Terror Network. Of course, these can be found on www.createspace.com. His second book, The Grateful Undruk, if I pronounced that right, Revolution in 50 Countries, createspace.com as well. His third book, Das Kartell der Federal Reserve, is in German by Kopp Verlag. His fourth book, Sticking It to the Matrix, is also on createspace.com. And his fifth book, his most recent book, let's see here. You have a lot of books here. As revealed, the Federal Reserve Cartel, which is also createspace.com and reveals the owners of the world's private central banks. And we're going to be elaborating on that tonight as well. And his website is www.deanhenderson.wordpress.com. And please welcome Dean to the show this evening. Dean, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to have you on. And yeah, that's quite a bit of information there. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, you have so many different books out there. It's so much information. It's just overwhelming in a positive way. So I appreciate what you're doing on that level. And I'd like to talk to you about the banksters in your recent book. And how did you all piece this together? I mean, how did you get all these answers to this equation?
Well, it started out as a master's thesis back in 1991. I was in Missoula, Montana. University of Montana is there. And according to Nation magazine, we had the highest per capita protest of any city in the United States against the Gulf War, at that time that was going on. Mm-hmm. And so we had about almost, I think it was like half the town, marching in the streets of town. But at that time, it was about 60,000 people. So anyway, I was doing a master's thesis. My degree is in environmental studies, but it's very interdisciplinary, which allowed me to range a little bit. And the thesis was titled the Gulf Cooperation Council Regional Resource Security Regime for the Regime of International Capital Accumulation, something like that. A lot of, academic stuff. Mm-hmm. But basically the idea being that these GCC countries, the Gulf Cooperation Council, which is Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Bahrain, Oman, United Arab Emirates, and Saudis, basically these are all carved out of the Ottoman Empire by the British. In fact, the United Arab Emirates didn't get independence till 1973. And all of these are monarchies, single family ruled, no rights for women. Basically, all the royal families are all, protected by British MI6 forces. the very best of the best. And so the reason is because 42% of the world's oil sits under those 7 countries on the opposite side of the Persian Gulf from Iran. And so started as a thesis, and then I ran into some resistance, from the academic type, some of the thesis advisor people. I came across information that, for example, the Rockefeller family still controlled controlling interest in Chevron and Exxon and BP. And when I came up with that information, even though I had it, documented, footnoted, they just didn't want to. They said, "Well, maybe we should leave that out. That sounds like some kind of conspiracy stuff, And even though it was documented, so I guess that kind of piqued my interest. I went ahead and got that thesis done, got my master's, but I wasn't really satisfied with that yet. I wanted to find out, more about these families, who these banks were that control the oil companies, and then the families that control the banks. And so I spent the next 13 years. I probably read over 100 books. The big oil book, my first book has, I think it's 938 footnotes. So it's all conspiracy, no theory, but it pretty much spent my time reading and studying, and I had this huge stack of papers, and we finally got settled because we were kind of gypsies at that time. I was able to put it all together into that first book, and off from there. So, but it's just and all those books, by the way, are available also on Amazon. It's it's easier than going to CreateSpace, although CreateSpace is better. Amazon's a monopoly, but whatever. I think it doesn't really matter as long as people get their hands on this information. But so that's how that all got started. And I guess before that, even I went to Nicaragua when I was in college, undergrad at USD, University of South Dakota, and that was during Reagan's Contra War. And just to see the whole thing as such a lie, these freedom fighters, were actually terrorists who were decapitating people and putting their heads on posts outside each village just to terrorize the Sandinistas and the revolutionary people, who, by the way, are now back in charge in Nicaragua, thankfully. But so I guess that's where I really cut my political teeth, and I've just traveled a lot, and it just reinforces these things. You see the same corporations, the same banks, the same entities, harming people, harming the environment in all different corners of the planet. And so the second book, The Grateful and Rich, is about my travels, and it's a deconstruction of monopoly, patriarchal capitalism, and it's just a juxtaposition between, the way we live and the way they live, and how that's actually a term that I kite from Mark Twain, the grateful and rich. He talked about the grateful and rich in terms of these people who are fawning at the feet of the rich all the time, bending over backwards, to do whatever they could for the rich people, because, boy, one day maybe I'll be rich, even though, of course, these people were never rich themselves. But on the other side of it, you have, people in India and the Philippines and these places I've been out in the middle of nowhere, just dirt poor, but just the happiest people, the kindest people you could ever meet. And so they too are the grateful and rich. But and then Sticking It to the Matrix is a book about how to get out of the system, and basically be self-sufficient. I haven't worked a regular job since I was 27, and I didn't come from money. So it's more of a practical guide on how to not only get out of the system, but then sort of take it to the system from the outside, And then the Federal Reserve Kartell is actually chapter 19 of that big oil book, with a solution added that I'm proposing a solution to how we can basically nationalize the Fed and save ourselves from this tyranny.
Oh, absolutely. And I applaud you for your research and your work. It's incredible. And let's talk about the solutions. I think that's huge, because with all the knowledge you've acquired by traveling, I mean, you obviously see the propaganda. You see how things are relayed in one form, and then you travel to that destination, it's opposite. So what do we do? I mean, for the people here who are listening to you tonight, what is the first step they can take to try to come up with solutions? Because there's an awful lot of talk and nothing to back it up.
Yeah, exactly. I think the first thing for everybody to do is get out of debt. Because when you track all this down, you realize that this Federal Reserve, 8 families that I'm talking about, that control 52% of the New York Fed for real, and every other central bank in the world except 5 now. The way they keep countries down, the way they keep people down individually is through debt and creation of phony money, creation of a phony obligation. But still, you got to get out of debt, and you got to stay as far away from that as you can. You have to become a creditor. Even if it's start with $100 in a savings account with 1% interest, you have to become a creditor to the banks, and that's number one for everybody. Because once that happens, we quit self-censoring. We don't have once we get out of debt, once we get and then after that, if you can get a place paid off that you can live in, that's huge, because housing is they're making it more and more expensive to live, whether it's rent, whether it's own a place. Once you can get secure in your living, in your housing, in your just your life, then maybe you can quit your job, or maybe you can do something different. Maybe you can live your dream, but you can also not self-censor anymore. You don't have to bite your tongue when the cranky boss comes by every morning. You don't have to bite your tongue at some stupid meeting. You can just be free. So the debt thing is huge. The second thing is I think my personal opinion is, we've got all these single issue causes, and that's great. It's all good. But we have to somehow coalesce behind one big issue, what we think is the biggest issue, and we have to take it to the House. And I think that biggest issue is nationalizing the Federal Reserve and turning it into a publicly owned, interest-free central bank. Because our country's $17.3 trillion in debt, and about $13 trillion of that is owed to these 8 families. It's a myth that China owns most of that debt. They don't. They own about $1.5 billion. Japanese own about another $1 billion. The GCC countries another $1 billion. Most of that's owned to these old Europe families. So I don't see how we can, help women's issues. I don't see how we can protect the environment. I don't see how we can help poor people. I don't see how we can, do any of these single issue things without lifting this debt off of our society, and not just our society, but the whole world. The whole world's in the same exact situation. And so I just really would like to see that be the issue, because, Thomas Jefferson was the proponent of such a publicly owned central bank, along with, John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Daniel Webster, a lot of our founding fathers. There was a division, and Alexander Hamilton won the argument. He was a Rothschild agent at that time already, and owned the Bank of New York, and he won the argument. So we started out with a private central bank called the Bank of the United States. And then throughout history, there was attempts by Andrew Jackson and Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy to change that and to make it a publicly owned central bank. But 2 of those people were assassinated, the latter 2, of course, and Jackson had attempts on his life, and a war sprung on him. But so it's not like easy, but it's also about consciousness. And I think we're at a time now where, the banksters are so reviled, and the Rothschild, imagine what it's like to be a Rothschild, right now, because people are talking and people are knowing. And so I kind of believe that if there's enough consciousness out there, that the president of the United States and presidents of other countries, better done in unison, could do this thing and be protected. And it's so I just think that's so important. And then there's a number of things that if we do nationalize the Fed, we have to do right away the same day. First thing is you send the FBI to the 3rd subfloor of the New York Federal Reserve, and you take all the gold that they've stolen from every country, including ours, out of Fort Knox, and you give it back to the rightful owners, and you arrest the bankers. You have to pull out of all the free trade agreements, WTO, NAFTA, all this stuff, this TPP coming up, all this crazy stuff, because it takes away your sovereignty, and it does, you can't do some of these things if you're in those trade agreements legally. You have to fix your currency. You have to fix the dollar to a basket of commodities or whatever, but take it out of the IMF pool, and because they'll crash your currency if you do this. The stock market will crash when this happens, so we have to give people an alternative, which is a public fund say 5-6%, something fair but not unreasonable, not crazy. I think you should work for your money mostly, but invest and make a little something on this. And instead of a 401k, because right now we've got all these Americans who are tied up in these 401ks, which was a Reagan invention. It was designed to destroy pensions. They came in and said, here, we'll match your contribution. And we were supposed to think that was such a great deal. Well, it used to be companies paid 100%. And you didn't have to match anything. So it wasn't a good deal. It was a raw deal. But because of that, you have all these middle-class Americans out there, and they're basically scared, and they're basically cheerleading the stock market, which is the devil. And that's not a good situation. So we have to take that off of people's backs, put them into a publicly funded thing where, we could repair roads, we could build bridges, high-speed rail, go solar, all these good things we could do with this public pool of money. Then people could also make money for their retirement off it. Mm-hmm. And actually, Obama did talk about such a plan in his last State of the Union. It floored me. I couldn't believe it. Mm-hmm. So, maybe he'll push for that. But there's all these things you have to do the same day, because when you're messing with the Fed, they push a button, they can crash your currency, they can do a lot of damage. And so this all has to be done swiftly. Mm-hmm. But I lay that all out in the last part of this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's well defined, by the way, and I appreciate that information. And you're spot on. That's exactly what needs to transpire. And the question is, will it transpire, and can we kind of enforce that to happen? What is your impression of that?
Well, it's all about consciousness. It's all about knowledge. It's all about information. It's all about courage. Is what I think we're lacking now. Mm-hmm. We're getting there, but there's just got to be more people who are brave enough, and there's not yet. And, so many people, they just walk around and they're like, nah, and they know what's going on. They know what, they might ridicule you because you're a conspiracy guy, but deep down, they know you're right. They've seen the evidence. They know everybody knows what's going on. I think everybody knows what's going on. I just think we've been terrorized as a society through the Kennedy assassination and 9/11 mainly. Mm-hmm. But there's other things all the time. They're always terrorizing us. It's basically, we can kill the president, we can kill you, shut your mouth, and they've done that to this society as a whole. It's really frightening. So I think it's the courage that we're lacking here. And maybe what gave me courage, I don't know, is just traveling and just seeing, man, these people, the Sandinistas, these people, men, women, priests, even Catholic priests, going into the woods, giving up everything they had to fight for their people and winning, and you come back here and people, oh gee, I need a new couch, or I need a new boat, or and they're just whining about this stuff that doesn't matter, and it's pathetic, and it's not what our founding fathers were like at all. They were a bunch of just roll the dice, drink some whiskey, let's go do it, let's get this thing done. Had a lot of courage. They weren't perfect, but they had a lot of courage, and I just really see the courage missing. And that's what I'm hoping we can somehow, courage is contagious, and we have to be courageous. So I try to, I guess, in my writings, I try to be audacious. Che Guevara talked about audacity. Mm-hmm. We have to be audacious. We have to do things they won't expect. And so, we're getting there, mm-hmm. but it's all about that sort of thing. And I guess, what you're doing, what I'm doing, we're trying to get to that critical mass, which is maybe 10, 12%. And once we get to that critical mass, then maybe we can get this done.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it seems like we're running out of time in the hourglass to some degree,
Yeah.
Yeah, but it seems like you're right about the courage. I totally agree with that. We need more like you, actually, and the leadership is really important as well. So not only do we need the courage, but we need leaders out there. We need people who are role models and positive role models for this transition. And I do run the energy for that and hold the vision for that also. And you talk about the 8 families, and I wonder if you can elaborate a little bit on exactly who these people are. Again,
sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's it's the Rothschilds or the. And it's kind of an exaggeration, and it's funny because people, they hear 8 families, oh, that's an exaggeration. And well, I say, well, it is an exaggeration because actually there's only one, because they've all intermarried now to the point where, seriously, it's really just one big inbred family. But it's the Rothschilds are the big one. They're worth, over $100 trillion, according to reports by many people, which is just, it's Alice in Wonderland. Nobody can imagine this. The Rockefellers, this all came out of the Business Roundtable in London way back in the early 1900s. And they had this business roundtable meeting, and they basically dispatched people to different parts of the world. So the Rockefellers were given control of America, sent Cecil Rhodes to South Africa, sent the Warburgs to Eastern Europe. So the Warburgs are another family, one of the 8 families. The others are Goldman Sachs, Kuhn-Loeb, Lazard, as in Lazard Freres, stuff like that. Who am I missing here? The Lehmans. And I'm not sure how much of their power was diminished by the Lehman Bank going bankrupt. But, interestingly, they had some serious connections with the 8th family, which is the Israel Moses Saif family, which is an old Genovese banking family from Italy, way back in the day. That's where banking, really started, was in Genoa. So it's those 8 that, according to 3 different sources I have, and I guess I'm the 4th source, and I'll gladly stand behind it, that, that own 52% of the New York Fed. And the New York Fed is where the Fed Open Market Committee is out of. So that's the only Fed that really matters, because they make policy. Plus, all the Federal Reserve it's not some big crazy conspiracy. It's a private thing. And so the New York Fed, the biggest banks in New York are JP Morgan Chase and Citigroup, right? So they control the New York Fed by virtue of their size. Because, Chemical Bank, Manufacturer, Hanover's, those got ate up, by Chase. Citigroup swallowed up Solomon Smith Barney, Discover, Travelers, and that's Citigroup. And so then the next most powerful Fed would be the San Francisco Fed, because you have Wells Fargo and Bank of America. But, the New York Fed is just by far the most powerful, just by virtue of its assets. And so that's why it's significant, and that's why gold's there. But yeah, those are the families, and there are other families who are important. The Oppenheimers are right up there, but and the Stillmans, who were partners of the Rockefellers way back in the oil patch. And so people like this, of course, the Vanderbilts, and some of these people, the Astors, the whole Boston Brahmin crowd, John Kerry's wife, Teresa Hines, is part of that. The Perkins family, but these other families really, and as I say, they've intermarried now to the point where literally, Goldman Sachs' daughter marries a Kuhn-Loeb son, and I mean, it is seriously one big family now. But it's the head of the snake, and we gotta do whatever we gotta do to take care of it.
Yeah, cut the head of the snake off, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
How does Dubai play into this? It seems like they have an awful lot of wealth over there. I mean, is there kind of a piece of the puzzle?
Definitely. Yeah, Dubai is the new Hong Kong. Dubai is to the Golden Crescent, which is, the area of Iran, Pakistan, and Afghanistan, where all the poppies are growing nowadays and all the heroin's coming out of. So Dubai is to the Golden Crescent what Hong Kong was to the Golden Triangle, which is where they launder the money. All the drug money is laundered through Dubai. And that's the biggest part of it. And you'll also notice the same banks there, these big British banks, mainly HSBC, which used to be called Hong Kong Shanghai Bank Corporation, but they don't want you to know that, so now they just call it HSBC. But it was always a British bank. It was always the Swires, the Jardine, Matheson family, all these, families that ran Hong Kong that own that bank, and the Rothschilds too. And the other bank is Standard & Chartered Bank, which is the bank that Mohammed Atta got $100,000 wired from out of Dubai right before this 9/11 attacks happened. So those two banks are evil, extra evil. I mean, they're all evil, but those banks are the crown. They're the crown banks, along with Barclays. So yeah, Dubai is very much just a laundry mat for all this drug money, and not just drug money, but arms, arms money, and all the stuff that goes along with war,
right?
Because war is business, and business is good.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, keep everything in conflict, keep the masses kind of in a disarray of what's happening. It's really incredible. What amazes me is how these guys were able to pull this off. I mean, how were these families able to really play the manipulation game as well as they have? I'm blown away by that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like the emperor wears no clothes. It's like something that's so Like, I think every little kid has a sense that this is going on. I know I did, thinking back, that there's just a few people that kind of run the world. And then you go through this, education, which is all funded by, the Rockefeller General Education Board, I suppose. And you're taught, oh, it's more complex than that, and, all this stuff, and just lies about it. And then, you're taught there's this, the emperor's walking down the parade route and he's got no clothes on, but everyone, oh boy, nice clothes. I mean, and it's just like that. It's like it's the word conspiracy is a dirty word for one thing. That along with the word communism, and there's a reason those two are dirty words, because communism, honestly was only ever practiced probably by Native American people, in my opinion. But it's a good system. It's a system of sharing. Nothing wrong with that,
Right.
Probably not possible today, and with our societies being urbanized and so forth. But it's demonized because it's a good idea. Real communism. Now, the Soviet Union, that was state capitalism. That was a whole thing to throw us off and get us confused and all this stuff. But conspiracy, that's why that's a dirty word too, because it's real. Because you and I right now, are conspiring to have a conversation and bring up some ideas, right? I mean, well, imagine if you're a Rockefeller and a Rothschild and you're having a conversation, down in Manhattan and you're talking about, oil. I mean, that's all it takes. I mean, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that in Ukraine, we're gonna do this in Venezuela. Well, they're just having a conversation, right? But they're conspiring. So it's totally logical, and it's totally, it's not some crazy stuff. It happens every day.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's just mind blowing to me when I think about the manipulation that's happened across the board, and how many people have been slept away and wasted away. People work their butts off. A lot of people do. They work very hard, and they just want to keep their nose to the ground and not really pay attention to what's happening and trust that we have people in government that are honorable. But that just doesn't happen, it seems.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Yeah, it would.
And I would love to not have to do this.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I understand.
I'm sure you do. It's like it's just something else to do, but it's like it's all there is to do because you learn that if you keep your nose to the grindstone, you get it mashed into the grindstone basically, right. And it doesn't work. So what everybody needs to do is quit working so hard, quit working so much, go on strike, quit your job. I don't know. Quit the system. I mean, anything you can do to just, defy authority, defy what's going on, because we don't have good leaders. We need an all new set of leaders. We need this thing needs to burn, and we need to start over.
I totally agree.
That's the only way it's going to work. Nothing else. No Band-Aids are going to help.
I agree. And you've been living kind of off the grid for how many years now?
Well, we're not completely off, but we've been living like this for, I suppose 20, 25 years maybe.
That's great.
And with some travel in between, but still like, living in a van, camping or living out of a backpack in Thailand, it's living simple. But we do have, our own garden. I got a lot of planting done just the last few days here. It's been good. Wood stove, and we've had critters, and I go to town once a week. I mean, I really do. That's for real. So I don't like town. I don't even like it when I go to town. I just go there because I have to. Usually get a few things, make a list, go to town, get a few things. But we really just try to starve the beast, try to starve the system. And there's two ways to starve it. You don't spend your money on needless stuff, which is most everything, and you don't sell your labor cheap, which means don't work. And if you do work, get paid good, demand a good wage. But, I know it's hard for young kids especially, right? Because there's a huge cull going on. That's the bottom line. They're culling the population. They're making it hard. They're they're turning us into a third world country. So
I agree.
It's hard.
Absolutely. But I also agree. You're right about the simplifying your life and making it easier. And also you do a lot of bartering.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely do. A lot of bartering all the time. And that's the very, very best way because, that money's dirty. It's all dirty. And the less you touch it, the better, So, barter is excellent.
And what's your take on gold and silver insofar as investments with that?
Well, I know it's popular with a certain sector of, I'm sure your listeners and a lot of people who are in the know and the Rothschilds and this and that, but I just, I don't trust it. I still think it's a rigged market. I still think when gold goes up, it's because the Rothschilds bought gold. And when it goes down, it's because they're selling. I mean, they control everything. You know, you go back to the protocols of the Elders of Zion, they talk about how they were going to throw the whole economy into speculation. And that's what they've done. So what we have now is not really even a capitalist economy. It's a parasite financial capitalist economy, which means nobody makes anything anymore. And the people that make money, they make money pushing buttons and destroying wealth. Yep. You know, because when Goldman Sachs proposes a merger and handles it and gets the fee, and some guy pushes a button or whatever, I mean, that every merger cuts jobs. Every time two companies merge, there's duplication. So what happens? They get rid of people. So every time, Goldman Sachs pushes a button and bids up wheat futures, what happens? Well, you and I pay more at the store for bread, so our wealth is diminished. Or gas at the gas pump, so our spending power is diminished. So we're literally in a time where the people making the money in this economy, the only people making the money, the 1%, the 0.11, 0.001%, whatever it is, are literally parasites. I mean, they're making their money at our expense, everyone else's. And it's never been more clear cut. So it's not even capitalism. It's some kind of hybrid. Yeah, people call it financial capitalism. I call it parasite capitalism. And that's what they've become. They're just parasites living off the rest of our, labor and toil and blood and everything else. So pretty sick.
I agree. Yeah, it makes you want to throw up your hands, and I've always worked my entire life, but I'm sure a lot of the listeners have as well. And it gets to that point where you realize you've kind of been had to some degree, And that's a real bad feeling. It doesn't sit well.
It is, but in a way, disillusionment, you break that word down, just means losing your illusions. So, and I had that moment too, sure. And everybody, as long as you can have that moment and then make a decision to say, okay, it's war, baby. We're going to war now with you people or you aliens or whatever you are, whatever you things are running this show. And I kind of think they're not human myself. Yeah. As long as you make that decision, then you're okay. And it hurts and you get stung. And, when I was in college, I put some money in the soybean market, got burned. Glad it happened because it taught me a lesson and I never forgot it. And, everybody's got those moments. But as long as you come out of that, as long as you learn something, it's just like anything else, I guess, as long as you learn from it. Right. And move forward towards the revolution,
Yeah, you're a bright individual. And what I like about you, too, is you're very philosophical. You're very expanded in consciousness. That's really refreshing.
Thanks.
Yeah, you're very multifaceted because you're very grounded when it comes to worldly affairs, but yet there's an expansion to you. That's really nice. Right. So, I'm glad you're here, and we all appreciate you being here and what the work you're doing. And, we need to get this thing in motion. So your impression of the U.S. dollar, where do you think we're heading in the next few years with that whole thing?
Well, it's been, of course, on a downward trend. It's so hard to say. Again, it's going to be, I'm guessing there'll probably be some short-term upswing because it's so low now that people have dumped it. And again, the Rothschilds know that. And so they'll probably buy it and, push it back up. But, long-term, I just think they're going to go to a single currency. It's probably going to be these IMF drawing rights stuff, and they're going to go to a single global currency. That's part of their plan. They basically want to take us back to medieval times. So, that's their kick. They love those days, and they want nothing better than just to have a king and a queen, and us will be a bunch of peasants, giving them half our crop, next. So, probably, there'll be crisis all over, and there'll be nowhere to hide, and that's when they'll introduce this single currency. I even, everybody's all about Bitcoin. I don't really know about it, but there's there's definitely something kind of creepy about it to me because it's an electronic currency, right? Right. And that's what they're going to introduce. Right. And then will it be on a debit card, or will it be, will they even, I don't think they'll go for the microchipping you in the arm yet. That's too obvious. It's just creeping fascism. They have to keep us, they can't alarm us too much. So they're going to introduce these things in steps. And they're doing it. Facebook is the new television. That's how they're controlling people now. It used to be TV. I think now it's Facebook. Facebook's horrible. I hate it. But I use it in my books and articles out. But that's it. I mean, it's pretty horrible, though. There's a lot of – check out Neil Sanders sometime. Written some really good things about social media. And I think it's actually antisocial media. It's isolating us. It's, we're not calling each other enough anymore. We never write letters. Of course, we don't go. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It gives you this false sense of community when actually it's not. But that's a whole nother topic. But anyway, as far as a dollar, I really don't know. But I think that basically the whole gist of it is going to be a single currency. They will create a crisis. I don't know if it'll be a crisis in the dollar or if it'll be a crisis in it'll probably be a bunch of currencies. Dollar could be one of them. Right. Again, just solid real assets is what you need to have. Pay off your house, man. I mean, if you're looking, so many people have come across throughout the years, just they'll throw their money in the stock market, buy gold, whatever, buy currencies. I don't know, play these games that are all rigged, and they don't have their house paid. And I'm like, why don't you just pay off your house? Oh, I won't get the mortgage deduction, whatever. I mean, just pay it off and then, like Jill and I live voluntary poverty. If you're a couple making under $20,000, you legally don't owe taxes. That's the way to go. Just voluntary poverty. But you got to have your house paid for first, see, and your car paid for and everything paid for. But that's where this ties in. This all ties back into debt and getting out of debt.
I agree.
But I don't play any speculative games. I don't have any money in any of that stuff. And I never will, because I don't trust it. A, it's all rigged, every bit of it. And B, it's the devil, and I don't deal with the devil. I mean, I have money in the bank, but it's a community bank locally, and it's still not perfect, but it's a step away. It's a step removed from the devil, and I like that. Yeah. And my bank loans on homes in this area. That's where they loan their money. So it's just fundamentally different,
Oh, yeah, it sounds much better. Well, yeah, I agree. There's so many people who have like double mortgages. I mean, people who are just really in debt. And then they're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they have like cars that are like outrageous payments for their cars, which makes no sense to me. I'm thinking you could invest that in a house payment or something. It's just ridiculous. But I do see that, and I think it's all about this illusion of trying to keep up with each other, and also their role model is television, so they think they have to be like these people out in Hollywood. Exactly. It's crazy.
Exactly. And now Facebook. Keeping up with it, and it's all about, sadly for so many Americans, it's all about acceptance. Have I been acceptance? It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's like they've been so beat down, they've been taught to hate themselves ever since they were kids, and they just never felt accepted. So there's this great need in America to be accepted, to fit in. Whether it's, your parents, so many kids still live for their parents. I swear. I mean, I love my mom, and my dad just passed away, but you don't live for your parents. You don't live to please your parents. You live to please yourself, to have a soul, to feel like you're who you want to be. And that's it. It doesn't matter who else, gives a flying, whatever about you or what they think of you. And you're so right. It's so much of that. Keeping up with the Joneses is just part of that. Or it's 50-year-old people. Gee, if I buy a better car, my mom will think better of me. I mean, it's just crazy, but it's true. It's like, but there's so much self-hatred, and I think the self-hatred is the root of it, and that's what they keep us on. All the commercials, all the sitcoms, just debasing humans. Just your teeth are dirty, you need this toothpaste, and your armpit smells, so you need this because you're just dirty, you're no good. Every single thing they sell us is based on this need to have us hate ourselves, and we've just got to love ourselves. That's the very first thing that people need to do before they get out of debt, before we nationalize the Fed. Just love yourself, man.
I agree.
You're a gift from God, whatever your God is, whatever your Creator is. You're here for a reason. You have a purpose. Your thing is just to find out what that is. But man, you got to love yourself, and just quit being so hard on yourself. That's what people do too much.
Yeah, and once you love yourself, it's easier to love others too.
Exactly. And you can't do it without it.
Yeah, there's such a, what I call these units, they're kind of disembodied spirits. I mean, they're entities, what I call them. I don't believe they have souls. I don't believe these people that are running these organizations have souls at all. Because if they did, I don't think they'd be operating the way they are. But yeah, I see that, and I'd love to see all this change for the better. But I do feel like there's too much distraction with technology and the misuse of. And I've mentioned that before on my show. I mean, it's just out of control. You have to have a balance. And I don't see that balance these days.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we need more depth. I feel like we're losing our depth.
Right.
Through this, like click, 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 click. and people in their texting. I mean, you stand there having a conversation with somebody and they're texting. It's just rude.
Mm-hmm.
It's just rude.
Absolutely.
Your grandma would have told you that if she was here. It's just basic manners and basic. It's just not, and it's just weird. And so you're right, and it's just fragmented. Well, Sanders gets into this notion of future shock. Alvin Toffler wrote this book, Future Shock, and the Tavistock Institute. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but it's an evil British institute that they're basically doing mind games and psyops mostly on America, because see, the British Crown never recognized the American Revolution, so they hate us. So they either want to put us back under control or just destroy us. And that's who runs the world. It's not Wall Street. It's the city of London where all this real power emanates from, Illuminati and the real heavy Satanist stuff and stuff. So the Tavistock Institute, apparently he thinks sponsored Alvin Toffler's, and the whole notion of future shock is this idea of just bombarding people with too much information, so they couldn't handle it, and they would just break down, and they would lose their morals, and they would lose their soul, and they would just lose their depth. They would lose their their relationships around them to their family and their friends, or real friends, not their Facebook friends, and that's what's happening. Seems to me that's what's happening.
You're spot on. Yeah, well, you're familiar with psychotronics, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically that's the same thing, where they're trying to psychotronically attack people, and that will scramble the electromagnetic field in the mind and make people, disoriented to some degree. So that it's a technological assault is what I've been seeing, and I can get into this with you sometime because I've been exposed to that. But yeah, it's really amazing to me to watch this unfold, because there is that black budget program with all this technology that's being, unloaded on the masses, and they don't even have a clue, a lot of them.
No, they don't have a clue. They think it's the best thing since sliced bread. But it's definitely this is definitely a psyop. This whole thing, this whole Facebook, all these cell phones. I don't have a cell phone anymore, and I'm so glad I just got a landline. And not good. The whole thing, and the smartphone, forget it. No way. I mean, it's just I like living in the real world.
Right.
I just enjoy living in the real world, being out in nature. And that's what people are losing too. They're losing touch with nature. They don't go outside anymore. Look at our kids. They don't go outside anymore. My gosh. They don't even have the sort of interaction with reality, which is nature, which is natural law. I mean, the basis of how we live and how we should behave. They don't have any clue. And that's really dangerous.
Exactly. And look what's happening to our natural resources. I mean, and that all goes back to these areas of control where they're trying to just completely monopolize these beautiful lands. I mean, like national forests and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Agenda 21, all this stuff. And basically, they just, there's nothing public anymore. It used to be there was, public lands and the public library. Well, now you got to buy a library card and you have to pay to hike on these trails. I mean, it's absurd. So, it's this hyper capitalism. I mean, they've privatized everything. And the next step really is feudalism. Yep. And that's why it's just so hard for me it's just so much confusion. And so many of these people who are onto the Rothschilds or onto the bankers, but they still think it's some kind of socialist conspiracy. I'm like, wow. How you got to go study some political theory, buddy. I mean, it's unfathomable. Obama's a Marxist. I mean, I'm not an Obama fan, but not because he's not because he's a Marxist, because he's a total capitalist. I mean, he's a free market, laissez-faire dictator, warmonger. But and there's stuff like that we got to clear up. I don't know how we're gonna. I mean, we can maybe work together in the initial phase of this revolution, but you got to understand these things, and it's just not possible. I mean, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. It's not socialism. There's no socialism in that at all.
And they're also building up a lot of the military. I mean, our police departments are militarized now, so you've got everything kind of it's this iron fist that's hovering. And how do the people fight that? I mean, at some point, you wonder if there's going to be a revolution, but what can the people do? I mean, I know they all have arms, and a lot of them do bear arms, but still it's no match against this type of covert technology and black budget technology they have access to and they've been deploying.
Yeah. It's a police state on steroids, and but there are a lot of people that are armed, and we'll see what happens. Right. But I mean, people get together. A lot of magic can happen. A lot of good things can happen, and I still believe in that. And
I do too.
Like I said, we just gotta get enough courage. I really believe that. We've got to get people to a point. I guess it's just a lot of times it's just I noticed traveling around. I mean, people don't usually take up arms against dictators until their kids are starving. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the little kabuki show they're doing here. They keep it, they're making it tough. Yeah, they're making it tough, but nobody's starving yet. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason I think they're keeping it at that level, because they know these things. They've studied this stuff up and down. They figured a long time ago, it's a lot easier to just keep people stupid and basically, keep them on this propaganda train than it is to send in the Marines and put down insurrection. So they don't want that. They just want to keep us docile through this lies of the media and this entertainment, and all this stuff they're doing with social media, keep us preoccupied so that we'll never think about, openly revolting. And it is that creeping fascism where it's so slow, that it's, nobody's getting too alarmed about it. But that's what it's going to take, I think, really is it's going to take, the conditions are going to have to get so bad. And then things might start to happen. But I mean, if we can't get money out of politics, I don't see any other way except just revolution. I don't see any other way that we can, do this.
I agree. It is a slow bleed without a doubt. Sometimes people don't know they're wounded until, they lost most of their blood and all of a sudden they're passing out. You know what I mean? So it's right. No good. And also we talked about this off air. I mean, about, make them work for it. Make them work for these shots they're taking against us. No free shots. No free shots. I mean, as a martial artist, and we talked about that a little bit, but, you make people work for that. If they want to hit you, if they want to take you down, you make them work very hard for that. You don't just allow it. And I think that a lot of people are complacent, and I've mentioned that before also. And I do wonder if it isn't fear or conditioning or some form of mind control through the media, which is highly possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definite.
I think it is. I think you nailed it there. That's what it is, and it is mainly through the media, which is why best thing really is get off the computer, get off the TV, and forget the media. You go outside, you'll start feeling your real power.
Absolutely.
You'll start getting your dignity back. You'll start feeling like a real human being again, man. And that's what it's going to take is a bunch of real human beings to win this revolution. It's, there's not going to be any softies, man, because it's not going to be easy.
No, not at all.
But we got to get back in touch with nature. I mean, I think the natural vibe is on our side, and I know it is. I don't just think it is. I know it is. I know nature's on our side. They're suffering too.
Oh yeah.
And I know how things work, and I know you do too. And if we can plug into that, we have a lot of power. See, but if we stay detached from that, separated from that, hiding in our houses, on Facebook and TV all the time, we don't have that power anymore. That's what they're doing. They're stripping us of that power. They've been doing this since the Grand Lodge of Cairo. I mean, really. I mean, that's when all the people back then that could shapeshift, they could fly, they could heal themselves, right? And then came this secret societies. Freemasonry was the Christian part, and Kabbalah was the Jewish part, and the Muslim Brotherhood was the Muslim part. But it doesn't matter. It's just they took all this knowledge into these temples in Cairo, and they decided, okay, we're going to hide this knowledge from people. Now we're going to control this knowledge. We're going to be the ones that dish this out when we want to, and mostly hide it and use it for our own selfish, greedy purposes.
Yep.
And form central banks and control the people and start wars and start churches and lie to people. Well, that's what they did. But it's still the same way today. It's like there is all that knowledge. There is all that power. You have that. All you have to do is claim it.
Absolutely.
So, that's what we have to do is claim it. And we won't do that again until we love ourselves and then love others. And we won't do that, I don't think, until we connect with the big love, which is nature.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. And Dean, we're heading for a break real quick. We'll be right back, everybody, at Ravenstar's Witching Hour. Stay tuned.